welcome to Ask Me About K-Pop, the essential guide for recent converts and seasoned fans alike. My name is Shannon, and I am one of the hosts of this educational K-pop journey that we're all on. And our other host is my best friend in the whole world, and her name is Angelica. Angelica, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, Shannon. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm very, very excited about this episode. It's something that I've wanted to do for a really long time. We definitely got an email really early on from a listener asking about this very topic. It's something I've wanted to have more information about, like, since becoming a K-pop fan. And I just had to do the research myself. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely something I didn't have that much knowledge about, with the exception of, like, the names of a few groups.
Right. So I haven't said yet, but what we're talking about this week is the first generation of K-pop, the beginning of K-pop as we know it. K-pop generations are kind of an interesting thing, and that they like aren't real, but they are.
They're real because we say they're real. They're like money.
Right.
They're
Exactly.
real.
They're real because we say so. No, exactly. There's no K-pop fans generally say that there's like 3 to 4 generations of K-pop
Yeah.
at this time.
But I guess to clarify, I guess what you mean by not real is that they're fan constructed concepts as opposed to like officially recognized timelines from the companies themselves.
Yeah. No,
The music industry of K-pop does not recognize these official quote unquote generations.
Right. And I think, yeah, they're kind of loosely defined. But the like basic is the first generation is like 1992 to about 2002. And then the second generation is like 2003 to 2008, 2009, or some people would even say take it all the way to 2013. Other people think that 2009 to 2013 should be its own thing, and that everything after that, I don't know.
I even read a few arguments that said that the fourth generation started in like 2011. So I don't know. It seems arbitrary.
Yeah, it's very arbitrary. And I think that's, there's different ways that you could try to categorize these things. Like if you were going to be like a music nerd about it, I think you could probably draw some like stricter lines in like how the music was evolving. Or like if you're looking at it from a company standpoint, like you could draw generational lines based on like the way that money is being made.
Or the way the organization itself is structured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of all over the place. So we're going to be doing like a series of episodes about these. I think this first generation is going to be the most cut and dry because everything after that gets a little wishy-washy as to whether what generation it belongs in or whatever. So we might as well just like dive right in. So I feel like before we get started, there's like important historical context that like should probably be brought into this, like, because we're talking about history. We're talking about like 20
Talking about music history
20 plus years ago. So like, we can look back from here in the present and
so
like
let's travel back in time.
So
To
let's see.
1993.
No, 1992.
A beautiful time for all of us.
Yeah, I was very small. So I don't remember 1992.
I don't know.
But
Plus, I don't think the 90s were very beautiful for anyone. So.
No, that's very true. So some like historical things that you should know is that like Korea in 1992, the country's only been a democracy for about 5 years. Previous to that, there's all kinds of crazy history of like Japanese occupation and then the horrible war that we like participated in over there and like drawing a line between the country and like there was a lot of like instability. And at this point, South Korea is like kind of like a baby country. Like it's existed for hundreds and hundreds of years, but like under other people's terms for a long chunk of it. Like
So now it's starting to develop on its own.
Yes. But when we come into like music, if we're talking specifically about music, South Korea is kind of like starting off like on very behind because in the 70s, the leader, Park Chung-hee, who you're not allowed to call him a dictator because he was responsible for like changing the country and taking it from like a third world war-torn country to like, the modern thing that it is today. Like he put a lot of those things in play, but he also like measured girls' skirts had police measuring people's skirts so they weren't too short. Men weren't allowed to have long hair, and guitar music was banned. So like those seem like kind of dictator-y things to do. But
so he's officially not referred to as a dictator, but like dictator tendencies.
Yes. So on the like pop culture front, they're coming from this like, guitar music has only been allowed like for like 20 years or less, like 15 years, like guitar music has become allowed again. So they didn't have that whole like free love, like 70s, like hippie thing. Like that did not happen. So
because for a while there was a lot of like anti-Western sentiment because the U.S. military base was put there really without their consent. And so there was, I think that probably stemmed, or that's where the ban on Western
they brought
music
their
came
rock and
from.
roll and they're like, whatever.
So they associated it with all kinds of misbehavior.
And disobedience.
That dictator light didn't particularly enjoy.
Correct.
So it was illegal.
Yes. So music, Korean music, like pop music at the time, in the 80s, it was like very, very sad. Like people just,
dramatic
singing,
ballads.
Like very dramatic. There's kind of like a French influence to it. Like people just singing like just wailing sad songs. Like that's what the 80s was like. But Korea, like everybody else in the world who was smart, kept making disco. Like America was the only dummies who were like, some assholes in ripped jeans said that disco sucks, so we're over it. But like Europe and South America and Asia and everyone else kept making disco music because it's great. So like that's what we're looking at. We've got like some kind of like trot, which we've brought up before, which is like traditional, but it's like getting mixed with this like disco stuff, and then these like lamenting like 80s like whoa waily songs. Like that's where we're starting.
That's the spectrum we're dealing with here.
There definitely is. I also should mention, like, once the guitar ban was lifted, like when that guy got assassinated and all his rules went away, then
not a dictator.
Not a dictator. Not allowed to call him that. But then there was like a huge, like, burgeoning like punk and rock scene. Like that totally happened. But like, I'm not here to talk about rock music. It's not important. We're talking about pop music. Like pop music is a different thing. Okay, so the birth of K-pop as we know it happened in 1992. This new group, So Taiji and the Boys. That's like their English. Sometimes it's like translated to like, and the kids, and the gang,
the folks or
whatever. It's three guys. They came out with a song called Nanarayo, which means I don't know. And it like blew up music. The first time they went on TV, they were on a music show that had like a judging element. And the judges like hated it, gave it a terrible score.
Yeah.
They were like, this is a terrible song. Arguably, it is a terrible song.
I was going to say it is a terrible song.
But like no one had ever heard anything like that before. And so it like made an impact. I should probably like play at least a clip.
You have to play a bit of it, but I feel like in order to get the full range of the song, you have to play the beginning and then like cut to a part in the middle.
Okay. I'll try to do that. It like...
Because the reason it blew up music is because it's a lot. It's a garbage song. By which I mean it's just like mess thrown together.
No, it's like it's all the sounds. It's like the sounds that came with those Casios at the time that like pow, that like pow. That's just like a sound that like is on all the Casios. And
if they're all playing at the same time,
and then also samples of Flava Flav going yeah boy, like that's in there too. Okay. Hold on. Here we go.
We have to play this.
That's the yeah boy. Okay, so that's the endless intro, and let's see if I can find the chorus. Oh,
this is exactly
this is
what
another
I wanted.
part. Okay.
Turn it off.
Okay.
Why the heavy metal though? Like, why it comes out?
They were experimenting.
It's so upsetting to me.
They were experimenting.
It comes out of nowhere. It's jarring, and then they still do the like kind of like bubblegum pop vocals over it. And
no, it's very odd.
I would have also judged that song poorly.
But YG from YG is one of these boys. Like that's like this is where we're starting at. So yeah, that's the beginning. This song comes out and everyone's like, "Oh, we can make different music.
We can make whatever we want."
Yes. But it sort of it takes a minute for everything to like get off the ground, because next, like if we're going in historical context order, like next is this group called DU. I think they would say it DUX. Like that's how French you would say it. No, they said it Deuce. So DUX, and this is like a hip hop duo, and they are doing slightly more cohesive version of that, but not
definitely
really.
More cohesive song melodically, I would say. But like I watched that debut stage that you sent me or whatever, and they just kind of come across as like shitty b-boys. And then and then they were backup dancers originally, and then they debuted as this duo.
But they get the credit for like introducing New Jack Swing to like Korea.
And hip hop.
Yeah, so there's like something more cohesive about it. But unfortunately, in 1995, one of the they like split up to do a solo project, and the day after Kim Sung-jae, one of the members, the day after his solo debut, he was found dead in his apartment full of animal tranquilizer. And like his girlfriend had bought animal tranquilizers recently, but there was insufficient evidence, and it's still like a mystery that's never been solved. Ooh.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, mysterious death. So,
well, but not so mysterious. Like the girlfriend obviously did it.
I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Why would you buy animal tranquilizers?
I don't know if you like. Maybe they like.
No, is she a vet?
Problems?
No other reason. If she's
for
not a
drugs,
vet, then
for getting high.
But he's the only one who was full of them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still a mysterious. It's still mysterious forever. So they were only around for like 2 years. And when so now
how ironic.
Yeah. So now that like Deuce isn't around, then Turbo comes to like take their place. Turbo is like another like two boy group.
Well, they started as a duo and then they became a trio.
And then back to a duo again.
No, they're still a trio because remember we saw them at KCON and they're still three. I wrote down Turbo. Thank you for Kim Jong-gu.
Yes. So if you there's a Korean variety show called Running Man, and one of the cast members is a member of Turbo. But they sort of are doing their thing was like the hip hop with a little bit more of a dance beat. My husband said that it was Intellio-pop. Is that how you say it? Like, or it was some word for...
That is a word I've never heard.
It was some word for a specific time in Italian electronic music. I might have said it wrong maybe, but like...
Your husband's a nerd.
I know. But he was like, but the beat is like that very like European club early 90s beat.
I get you.
So that's what Turbo contributed to like the music scene. So like things are getting a little interesting with that stuff. And then it all really, becomes what it is when HOT debuts in 1996, because they were 5 boys, like a boy band, like the boy band model that was being shopped all over the world at that exact same moment. Like this is HOT is the first boy band. So like then it all goes from there. But like the thing about, I don't know how to talk about any of this without getting like all over the place, but like the thing that's what I think really separates the first generation from the second generation is that all of this is like insular to Korea. Like all of these groups got huge in Korea and then started like a music scene and a fan culture that was specifically South Korean. And then the second generation starts when that stuff starts to spread outside of the country. So that's like the difference that we're looking at is that all of these people were famous, but like definitely not in the way that K-pop idols are famous now.
Right. Plus, also because like the difference in the way that the music industry worked in the 90s, like most of these artists, all of their sales and things were like based on physical album sales, and some of them still hold records for like physical album sales because that's kind of all that their album sales
that was
were.
the only option.
But then there's SES. When they came out, they were like the girl group component to HOT is kind of how they were like categorized. And they were the first to debut and sing in Japan.
Yeah. So they're like the spreading did start a little bit towards the end of this generation. But there's really important Japan.
I was just going to say the historical context. So like the SES was the first to perform in Japan because before then there had been sanctions in place since World War II against like trade and between Japan and Korea.
Yes. Basically all Japanese stuff was censored from 1945 till mostly 2004. There's still stuff that's like still standing, but basically like Japanese comics, Japanese movies, Japanese music, like banned, not allowed, can't have it. Japanese movies could only be played in the movie theater after like 1994 or something if they had won awards at a film festival. That was the only reason a Japanese movie could be played. So like there's a lot of bad blood between these two countries. And like, if I was like a history professor, I would love to go into that, but I'm unqualified. So that like definitely has an impact on what the pop culture scene in the 90s is like, in that. But I think because also I think a lot of like teens at this time were like desperate for Japanese stuff. The fact that it was illegal made it
probably
cooler. Like if you knew a guy who like went on vacation and smuggled some comic books home, like that's the coolest dude in school or whatever because he has contraband. Like, yeah. So that like makes an impact on how everything works. So, what else? Who do I want? Do I want to?
Do we want to talk about like the style of music, some of the concepts, or music videos? How the sort of like style and aesthetic.
That was the intention of this episode, was to go back over some of the topics that we've brought up in the previous 17 episodes, but apply it to this period of time. So yeah, very simply. The music in this era is for sure hip hop influenced. Like
definitely.
That's for sure. And like we said, some of them have more dance beats, but for the most part, there's a lot of just like a much cheaper kind of rip off of like the hip hop that was coming out in the West at the time.
I would totally agree. So many of the music videos from this first generation come off as so cheap. It's like kind of embarrassing and hard to watch. There's the Rula.
I love them. I've decided that I love them.
I firmly decided I did not. I was not a fan.
So this was a very early group, mixed gender group, super early on, 2 guys and 2 girls, and then one of the guys left, and then I think it became 3 girls and 1 guy.
Yeah, one of them went to prison for sexually assaulting minors.
Yeah, they're bad. Like there's a bad. I get that. Yeah.
No,
that's unfortunate. That's the worst part about going over this stuff, like going back 25 years, because you start Googling these people and all that comes up is like the crimes they have since committed as adults. Like this one has a gambling problem and this one's a woman beater and this one's, and you're like, oh God.
Yeah, well, to me, they committed crimes in their musical career as well.
Come on.
Their name stands for Roots of Reggae. Strike one. Also, I wrote down that there was, quite honestly, in a lot of these videos, like, too much cultural appropriation to watch comfortably today. Rula is one offender, lot of braids and terrible hairstyles. But I also found a group called Chakra. Did you come across them?
No.
They were from 1999 to 2006, and it was written into their concept that they made quote unquote Indian-inspired dance.
Oh, yes, I did see that.
Except that they, like, can't decide which type of Indian they're supposed to be influenced
I saw that, like,
by,
Native American
because they have the bindi and the, like, turquoise Native American jewelry. It was horrible.
Oof. And
then I listened to some of their music, and it has neither type of Indian influences. Like, it's just in the terrible jewelry. Ugh, it was rough. That was rough.
So,
Rula was the first to sell 1 million albums in the like hip hop / dance genres. They were very popular.
No, they were.
I did not enjoy them.
They have this one song that's called "The Angel Who Lost Its Wings," and it's just literally like the same minute of music repeated 4 or 5 times. It's the longest and most repetitive song I've ever heard. But like, I don't know. A lot of this music grew on me this week while like doing this research. I would watch something and be like, ew. And then I'd have it stuck in my head later and be like, I don't know. I don't hate it. But it's not great.
Nope.
Yes. As like music, if we're on the topic of like music videos, they are definitely filmed on a hand, like, what are they? Video cameras. They are made on video cameras they look awful. There's like purposeful graininess, like purposeful, filters, like turn the whole screen green or whatever, like really cheap early 90s like effects.
Yep.
Bad strobe lights. Just cheap as hell. Because no one had any money and no one was making any money.
Cheap in music videos and also cheap on the stages. Like that Rula song that you just brought up, the stage that you sent me, like one of the girls is wearing like gloves. Or something. One of the guys is wearing a pair of sunglasses that only has one lens in it, so it's like a weird monocle. Some strange things. Strange things were happening.
Let's see other music video facts. SES's "I'm Your Girl" I feel like is the first example of the box video that is continued to this day. They're just like in pink and blue rooms and like doing their little dance to their precious 4-chord, simple, great song. That's great. I noticed a theme, a like trope of early 90s music videos, crappy CGI UFOs, just like being in videos.
Crappy CGI UFOs. I wrote that down because of the group Baby Vox. I watched their Yeah video and they like are aliens at the beginning, and then it cuts suddenly to like the trope that's still used today, where like the girls are like kind of all crowding around like one camera or whatever, almost like a sleepover. And it just kept going back and forth between aliens and sleepover, with then like a record scratch dance break in the middle.
SES's Dreams Come True also has like literally there's a part where I think it's Bada is singing to like a CGI alien that's in the palm of her hand. And it like opens with a real, but it's like very, very bad, very cheap, very early CGI, which is super funny to me.
Well, it's like when the Spice Girls met aliens in Spice World.
Yes,
like,
and there's also
90s girl groups loved aliens.
Yeah, in their what was their Pepsi song? Spice Up Your Life. They were in like a spaceship in that music video too. So and on the topic of Baby Vox was specifically created to be an Asian Spice Girls. Like that was their intention.
Yeah, but it didn't work.
I do not think they did a good job. I watch like Baby Box videos make me very upset.
Yeah, I did not enjoy them either, but I also read that the Spice Girls image they tried to create just wasn't popular. Like people weren't buying it and they didn't like it, so so after their first album, they changed their image to be more like SES, like more cutesy.
Yeah. SES's Love music video that came out in 1999, they shot it in New York City and it cost $1 million USD, and that was the most expensive music video that I'd like ever.
Whoa.
That was the top at the time. Like, and it is not, you watch the music video and I feel like the whole $1 million like went to flying them to New York.
Yeah.
It also has some bad CGI, but like not $1 million worth, which is really odd. And one other music video thing I wrote down that was cool, the Shinhwa Resolver video, they're on like a stage that's like a pendulum, like a big concrete like stage that has like things and it's like swinging back and forth and they're like doing the dance. I don't know if it's fake or not, like if it's a camera trick or if they were really like swinging them. But
I didn't watch that one. Cool. We have to watch that.
So that music videos.
You did not include that in your playlist.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I tried to make a research playlist for Angelica that had like debut stages and early music videos to give us something to.
Yeah, but you didn't include Shinhwa's pendulum stage.
I'm sorry.
You knew I already had an affinity for Shinhwa.
I'm sorry.
How could you deny this to me?
So like music shows, we did a whole episode about music shows. I did my best to try to find like information about this. There was a show called Gayo Top 10 that was on from 1981 to 1998. And that became Music Bank. So that's like the predecessor to our today's Music Bank. And then there was another show called the Korean shortened abbreviated title was Totoje, which meant like it was like Saturday music show.
Oh yeah, that's the one that I watched several performances.
Yeah, that was on from 85 to 97, and then it became Music Core. If you just for interesting Google sake, at MBC K-pop channel. Has archives for their show Music Camp that was on in the 90s. They have like massive archives. So you can watch like whole episodes of like really old music shows, which is really fun. Inkigayo was on. It's been on since the 80s. So like that was still a thing. And then another like big advancement in music shows in this era, the channel Mnet began in 1997. And Mnet is really like Korea's MTV equivalent. They have MTV now, but like it like Mnet has always meant more for who was playing music videos and playing the shows or whatever. Let's talk about what dances were like in this era. A lot of jumping, a lot of Running Man, like just that kind of slightly lame early 90s B-boy stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with like Deuce, that they came across as like shitty B-boys, and like HOT, like what their dancing is a lot of like jumping around
big,
with, like,
arms,
big arms,
like really big
and
arms,
just like high knees, which is why I think that when I did go back through these, fell for Shinhwa because they actually dance. I feel like they were the first to show the dancing that like K-pop idol groups would eventually become. Like they're sort of the first example of that because they actually had more complicated footwork and more like continuous dancing throughout the whole thing. Whereas the other groups I thought mostly did like if someone was singing, that person is not really moving at all. And like the other people are kind of doing something in the background. They would take like specific chunks of the song to dance.
So the dancing is very interesting. It's never sexy, never ever. Like nobody's doing any kind of body rolls or anything suggestive, like just jumping around. That's all that's happening.
Until you get to Shinhwa.
Right. But Shinhwa's later is what I'm trying to say. Especially in the case of girls, nothing sexy is happening. Like,
yeah, not in terms of like the actual moves that they are doing, but I would say that like SES was very much styled like TLC with the like baggy pants and a lot of crop tops. Like the what was that music video that you included in your one of the music videos you included in your playlist? It looks almost just like that scene from Unpretty where they're wearing like the pajamas that's only buttoned at the top. It's like shot kind of from below.
That's I'm Your Girl. And they're in white, like big white baggy things. I do want to talk about the styling but really quickly on the topic of like dances and music videos. Something that I noticed that was really interesting is when it comes to the time in the music video, like where the girl, like especially in girl groups, where the girl is like alone on camera and she's supposed to be like lipping her lines. That thing that then came into K-pop where everybody has like perfect hand motions and like winks and is like very, very good at like being on camera and like these like very meticulous kind of hand motions and face movements that does not exist. And especially in the Baby Vox videos, some of those girls look like they're being held at gunpoint.
Yeah,
like they do not look comfortable at all.
And they look so young.
Yes. That's definitely okay. Wait, I want to talk about clothes, what everyone looks like before I get too far into like anything else. Because you brought up so like baggy. Everything is so baggy.
At least on the bottom.
Everyone has the biggest pants. Girls and boys, everyone's got giant pants on.
Yep. But the girls will usually have little shirts.
Yeah, which was like totally my favorite. Like in 97, 98. Exactly how I was dressing. Biggest pants, tiniest tops. That's like all I wanted. It was great. I don't think it looked flattering on anyone, but like we all felt cool. So there was also like kind of like a futuristic type of theme that people wanted.
Yeah,
like
in terms
tiny,
of like,
shiny like lots of like sunglasses and goggles and like
metallic
tracksuits
and like
top and bottoms that match.
I would say sort of like futuristic mermaid color scheme, like shiny blues and greens, very like Xenon
silver,
girl of the 21st century.
Neon orange. Yes, Xenon is that. What was the name of the pop star in Xenon who sang Supernova Girl? Like that.
Make my heart go zoom zoom. I don't remember, but I remember the song.
That was like really
oh my god, what was it? We have to look it up.
Oh my god. I have to know this.
I don't know, but I definitely just found the song. No, but
Protozoa. Yeah, okay, so there's a lot of people looking like Protozoa in Xenon, like for sure.
Yeah.
The hair is so awful.
Yeah.
But it's also like, again, it was trendy as hell. Like just so many bangs, like as many like little framey pieces as you can like leave on your face. And then you take the rest of your hair and make it as big as possible.
As big as possible.
With
and that was for boys and girls.
Yes.
Both of them.
Everyone, big, crimped, piecey, little bangs. Like I know the girls in SES like specifically like started trends like with putting
with
like
the,
big poof
fuzzy ball hair ties and the teeny little skinny girl bangs
that you like basically like gel to the side of your face, like so that they're
or
always...
you gel them together so that they're like gel themselves like the two pieces so that they're like hard as sticks sticking off their face.
Yeah. So that's it's a trip to look at for super sure. Everybody just had like real long bangs and that was rough. What else have we talked about in previous episodes? On the topic of concerts, the very first Dream concert was in 1995. And the Dream concert, I thought that like maybe someday we can do like a whole episode about the Dream concert. But it's like a yearly concert, started in 1995, that's like a showcase of all of the like popular artists at the time, and it's like supposed to be for the youth of South Korea to be like, you can dream, and like here's your concert, and it's like
didn't it just happen recently?
Yeah, it happened 2 days ago. So yeah, like it's dream concert time, but the very first one was in 1995. So like that starts a thing. That crazy. Did you watch that video I sent you of JYP in his little white shorts? Because that was at a dream concert.
Yes, I did.
I'm sorry.
I screamed actually and took my glasses off because when it started, the title includes like a lot of numbers and like random stuff in it. So I honestly wasn't sure who it was because also a lot of JYP artists like have JYP in the title of their stuff. So I didn't know it was just going to be him. And when it starts, you like can't really tell who it is. And then he like runs out on stage and I thought he was just in underwear at first. He has like a little crop top and like
he's wearing like a tiny white baby t-shirt and like little white shorts
that have like a boxer or like boxer brief style like waistband. Oh my God.
And his tummy is very soft.
I know.
He's not like showing off any abs or anything.
Hard though. Like he's giving it his all. And he has so many body roll. Oh my God. But bless.
Yeah.
Bless
JYP.
his little heart.
On that topic, I will say that like just a quick detour, like on this episode, we've mostly been talking about like, and we're mostly going to be talking about like groups, because I think like K-pop groups is what like, you know, specifically leads to the other generations of the K-pop that we know today. But there were plenty of solo artists, like so many of them. Like Jung-hwa had already been around since the 80s. She was around. There was like a girl named Yangpa who was like really huge in the like middle of the 90s. Like there were JYP, there were solo artists doing things. We're just kind of talking about the like more groupie classic K-pop stuff. Because this stuff wasn't that popular. It was popular with the youth, but like grown-ups were not listening to HOT. Like that was for kids.
Did you get any information? Because I know like some of the companies, but because obviously like JYP and we mentioned YG was in Sotaji and the Boys. Like, when did the like big three sort of start to come out? Because I know like Shinhwa was SM.
HOT is SM.
Okay.
So it was that early on.
Okay.
A lot of the other companies that I like found in my research that were representing groups at the time, like had like during this time folded or were brought into or like absorbed into other companies. Because another historical fact, I was about to say fun, but it's not a fun fact at all. None
of our historical facts have
no,
been
they
fun.
haven't. They're not fun. In 1997 was the Asian financial crisis, or sometimes called the IMF crisis, where basically Thailand's economy completely crashed and then it just like spread all over Asia, and South Korea was like very deeply affected. So their economy was like in the toilet in 1997, and all the countries needed to be bailed out by the International Monetary Fund. So it was like a big deal that they needed to be like rescued. So a lot of music companies folded that year. And then like bigger companies were able to scoop them. So anyway, what were we talking about? I was talking about concerts a few seconds ago. Just like
the
concert.
Dream concert.
The Dream concert
was because of JYP. We got derailed
yes,
because
JYP
of and his
shorts.
tidy whities.
So the Dream concert is a big deal. Again, I really think we should do an episode about it someday because a lot of things have like happened at it, and it's a very specific thing. But that's when it started. So that's like a sign of the times. In 1998, when HOT played at the Seoul Olympic Stadium, that was the first time that people had camped out outside of a venue overnight, like to try to get good seats. So like, again, like another sign of like something's happening here. And just like a fun fact for like 90s stuff, back in these days, concert tickets were purchased at the bank.
Huh.
So fans would line up outside of like banks on days that tickets went on sale, and that's where you had to get them because there's no Ticketmaster or whatever online. You gotta go somewhere physical.
Bank.
But yeah,
that's
the bank.
Very weird. You wouldn't sell them at like the actual venue?
No, at the bank. I don't know why, but at the
questions.
bank. Okay. another thing that's very interesting, and that's on the same topic, is that like how fan culture was different in this first generation. There's like fan chants as we know them were like happening, but in a simpler way. Like I watched some old HOT performances and they would basically just like, during all those times we mentioned where like one member is doing the robot or whatever, they would just be like, HOT, HOT.
Yeah.
Hey, like just, you know, straight up
Mostly
chanting.
just saying their name. Or I noticed.
Or yelling the lyrics so loudly.
Yeah. That's what I was just going to say. Like in a lot of Shinhwa videos, you can hear the crowd like singing along or, more likely yelling them.
Yeah. And then like fan showing up for fan stuff like we mentioned in our fan episode, like balloons were the like standard cheering device at the time.
Yeah, and this is where like the culture of fan colors really started with HOT and Setchkis. Setchkis.
It means like 6 boys or something in German, or like 6 musics. I don't know. Anyway, so we got like balloons. There's also like ponchos. People are wearing ponchos in colors. And another thing that I noticed when like looking through like old archive pictures and stuff, people would get like it looked like a towel or like a sheet, and it would be printed with like a full color like picture of their bias or like their idol group or whatever, and then they tie it around their neck and wear it like a cape. So you'd have like a cape that was like a giant picture of like Tony from HOT or whatever.
Wow.
Which I thought was super cool.
How would they print that?
I don't know. I'm guessing specialty print. It's like I got your pretty shirt made. Like you can get pictures printed onto fabric. But yeah, I just thought that was super interesting.
So specific to make it a cape.
The Daum Cafe that we like spoke about in our fandom episode that's like still used today, was created in 1997. And at the time, Daum was like AOL, where it was like the only way to get on the internet was through this like very specific portal. I'm sure we have listeners who are very young and do not remember this kind of internet, but like you used to not be able to just like open a browser window and look for stuff. There was like a specific like app kind of like format of how you got to the internet, and Daum was like that. So it existed like during the HOT, Setchkis, whatever, but I couldn't find any specific information on when the first time a company like officially set up a fan cafe. But since this was just basically like old school chat rooms and old school forums, there was plenty of fandom chatting happening already, but I don't know. I couldn't find when it became official. But an official thing that they did have back in the day, which I think is so precious as a way for fans to get updates from their idols and like hear for them, is there was like a, not a toll free, what do they call those? Like the numbers, those old timey numbers you would call and it would charge you money or whatever.
Oh, a collect call?
Yeah, or not a collect call, but there were like these things in the 80s. We had them here too, where it would be like you'd call like 1-900 something and then it would like charge you. A lot of them were sex lines, but a lot of them were also like, call this and hear a joke, but like it would come up on your phone bill that you call these. Okay, so
I think what we had in the US was all the Miss Cleo like
like call a psychic hotline or whatever. This was similar, but it was like basically like a voicemail box for your group. So you'd call like the Setchkis voicemail, and then one of the boys would be like, hey, it's me. Like, our album comes out in 2 weeks. Like, hope you're excited. And so like that's how they got it. They would like leave little messages on like a voicemail that you would call.
Oh my God. If our groups had done that here in the US, like if the groups that I was a little fangirl of had done that, I would have spent I would have gotten in trouble for how often
absolutely. I called it. Another fan culture thing that I wanted to know so badly, and this episode took a lot of research, you guys, because this is like a time period where, like we said, this music wasn't leaving Korea. So there isn't a lot of like international like English news about this stuff. There's a lot of articles of like, here's some groups you should remember, but they don't have like information about like what it meant and like what was on TV and like what they don't have that stuff because it doesn't really matter in today's K-pop world or whatever. So, but I am so curious. So I spent time translating things and pausing videos and zooming in to like look for names of people. Like I did some deep research to find out these answers to questions I've always had. And a question I've always had was, what was the Korean equivalent of like Tiger Beat?
Oh.
For, again, I know we have really young listeners. I've heard from some of them before. There used to be these things called magazines. It was like a little cheap paper book. But specifically, there were all these ones called like Tiger Beat.
J14.
Yes. And basically.
No, dude, they still make those.
Do they?
Yes.
Do your kids have them? Or
no. But I saw one at Avon's, like in the checkout line, because they still even sell like Archie comics in those those checkout lines. But you know who's on the cover of those fucking Teen Beat magazines now?
Shawn Mendes?
No, dude, YouTubers that I've literally never heard of.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay, it's
very
mind-blowing.
upsetting. It's
wow.
very upsetting.
Okay, well, yeah, so these magazines, they basically just exist to have like pithy interviews and just like a million posters and things you can pull
Jonathan
and
Taylor
cut out.
Thomas shares his favorite kind of pizza.
So I wanted to know really badly if these existed in Korea, and you bet your ass they did. And these are the names of some of the magazines that were full of posters of boys. Junior magazine. Jang, with an exclamation point, which means like the best.
Nice.
And then Pastel was a really popular one. And then Yo Tomato was another one.
Yo Tomato.
Yeah. And you can find old copies of these on eBay and stuff. Like people have a lot of them. They look really crazy. But those magazines were so important to fan culture at the time because like the internet doesn't exist the way that the internet exists now, whereas you check your Instagram and you're getting like, or the fan cafe and you're getting official picture updates all the time. Like most of these pictures only existed for these dumb magazines, like whole photo shoots that you would only see if you bought the right copy of Junior magazine. And like how exciting, like you'd have to buy a real book and like open it to like see pictures of your idol. Like I find that really adorable. Like, I don't know. It seems like it just feels charming, like that things were only in print and that like music videos were only on TV and all, like, I don't know. It's all just very nice and old timey and sweet. Some other fun facts about this generation. In 1998, Sekshkis put out a movie called 17, and they were the first idol group to put out a movie, like a
movie, like Spice World.
Sure. This entire movie is on YouTube. It's like 80% sub too, if you ever want to watch it. It seems very bad. Like they cannot act. The plot, I was scrubbing through it. I couldn't get any grasp on the plot.
Do they play themselves?
No, they play, like one of them definitely plays like a dancer character, but I feel like they're just supposed to be like boys in high school, but there's like smoking and drinking and hardcore making out, and everyone has a motorcycle. So there's like a lot of motorcycling. Jiwon, who's like the only member of Sekshkis that I like know, his character in the movie has him and his girlfriend have the exact same, like part in the middle, long haircut with the chunkiest highlights. Both of them. Like they're supposed to be a couple and they have the same haircut. And
they
you're
have
like,
a couple haircut.
It's crazy. I couldn't figure out what this movie was about, but it looked really bad. But that was like
and had
thing.
Hardcore making out.
Yeah.
Like, that's very surprising, especially since they were had some of the hardest fans.
Yeah, they definitely did. And then 2 years later, HOT also made a movie. It was called Age of Peace, and it was about soccer players in the future. Great, right?
Amazing. Their whole concept of like warriors of peace.
Okay, that was a thing I wanted to bring up because I do think that that's like interesting again in a historical context. Like when you're looking at pop culture, you have to be like, what was the world around like and what were people saying? And I think like HOT specifically was trying to reach the youth in a different way than had happened before. Because I think the kids in the 90s, it was in the same way where like here you can say that like the baby boomer kids and their like hippie peace, free love or whatever, because like their parents grew up during war and like they only ever had it good. So like they were whatever. I think there's something kind of similar happening in the 90s where like teens at that time, their parents would have grown up in a 100% different country than the one they were in now. Yeah, exactly. HOT had like some crazy, like not some crazy lyrics, but like some very like youth of the nation kind of like lyrics. Like they have a song called We Are the Future. And the lyrics are like, now I'm going to change the old ways of the world. I am the master and the old world of the adults is gone. Like, why do they like... They fuss and bother us all day long. And of course, we can't do anything but be tired of it. Like, I'm going to make the world my own. Like, these are the, like, this is kind of like intense. It's not quite like rebellion, but it's like something of like, hey, we're different from our parents. And like, that means something, which definitely like spoke to people. I feel like lyrically, this first generation stuff, there's plenty of standard issue breakup and love songs, but then there's a lot of like, hey, we have to work really hard in school, like our parents are very like unreasonable, like my dad's a drunk, my mom works too hard. Like they're definitely commenting like on the society that, you know, they're coming up in, which is really interesting. But on the same topic of lyrics, HOT was famous for like kids learning the English, I'm saying English in quotes, the English lyrics in HOT songs. And it was like the bane of teachers because it is awful. But kids would English. Like memorize it. So like, listen to like, this favorite. Is one of the raps. So it goes, here we go, it's time to stop. The violence, the hate, and all the mass. It's about time somebody should stand for what's right. Bang, bang, bang. What comes down? Beat a what comes down? Do your body ready for the beat again? Everybody, what's up? Are you ready for it? This is the message from HOT. And like that's stuff that people, like kids would like memorize. Like I know English now, but like that was barely anything. Yeah, so that's interesting. What else do I have? GOD.
I was just gonna bring up GOD because of the lyrics.
Yeah.
GOD stands for groove overdose. Yeah, a groove overdose. I almost said I stumbled over that because I almost said groove over disco.
Yeah, it should.
I don't know why.
It could have been groove over disco.
But it should be groove overdose. Anyway, I saw when I was looking them up, I saw an old picture with which is the GOD that was on Roommate.
Dan. Oh,
not Danny.
Jun Young, is that his name? He like started the group.
The one that always wears sunglasses.
He's like from California and buff and tan, and he's always like, yo, bro! Like, that's his whole thing.
And I saw, like, a young picture of him without sunglasses on and was, like, staring into Jackson's future.
Oh,
they
God,
have the same face.
Oh, that's so funny.
It was really, really nuts. But G.O.D. is a group that was actually known for their storytelling lyrics. Like, isn't the To Mother song?
Yeah, their debut song was called To Mother, and the lyrics are like, I was such a shitty kid, and I'd be like, Mom, I want real food. And then I'd notice that my mom wasn't eating.
If it wasn't for my mom, like, I'd be eating instant noodles at home, but I got tired of eating instant noodles. And one day, she gave me Chinese noodles, and then I said, why aren't you eating? And she said, I don't like Chinese noodles. And like, it's just
But it's like because he realizes that his mom can't afford to eat. Like, they are poor and he's a shitty, ungrateful kid. And so the story is thank you. Like, thank you, Mom. I'm sorry I didn't appreciate you when I was a child.
Yeah.
But God is like pretty late in the first generation. They have Danny On as one of the members, and he is so hot. Oh my God. But fun fact about God, they had the very first K-pop reality show. They win that. It was called Baby Diaries. And like, Hello Baby, they gave them a baby.
Wow.
Which is really funny because if like Junyoung talks about it on Roommate, but like at the time, God was like living in a leaky basement, like under a restaurant. Like they lived in horrible, horrible living conditions. And like they were not, like no one was making any money. But yeah, that's so.
And then they had to take care of a baby.
And they took care of a baby in that gross basement.
They had to take the baby into the basement? No,
I feel like
sure
the
that they
videos
took
are
them
at
in
that
a
exact same place. But anyway.
Terrible.
I don't know. Anything else that I missed?
I want to talk about Shinhwa.
Okay, please. I have one thing written down about Shinhwa that I like, again, in multi-language Googling, could not find an answer to this question. They have a song called Usha Usha, and it's like a beach song, and I think it has the same, like, there was also like there was something going on at this time where people were taking like public domain music, like Ode to Joy or like Green Sleeves or whatever. And then just like writing a bad pop song over it.
Yes. I was going to ask you, like, what is the song that's at the beginning of it?
Of Usha Usha, it's Do a Diddy Diddy Dum Diddy Do is what they're doing in that one.
Oh, that's what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it.
But when you look up this song, it was like supposed to be their like second single or whatever. And then all the internet kept saying is that the year this song came out, there was a tragic water incident at the beach.
Yeah.
And then everyone associated the song with some kind of beach tragedy.
But the only thing that I was ever referred to as tragic water accident.
I told you.
And it doesn't
even the Korean Wikipedia said tragic water incident and did not link to any kind of news.
Totally.
So I don't know what happened.
I don't know.
Like,
I don't
is
either.
it something crazy? Did someone like get their head knocked off by a jet ski? Like something crazy? Like what is a tragic water incident and what does it have to do with this bad Shinhwa song? I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, but do you have anything less water tragedy related?
Less water tragedy. I was actually just like scrolling through their Wikipedia to see, but no. Well, okay, so as we were going through this, like we talked about how the style of music is like fairly different from obviously like the style of music that I usually prefer in my K-pop. But going back into Shinhwa was something that like I was immediately like, nope. I would stand, even going back to these terrible haircuts, like still a fan. Definitely the best visuals of any group, in my opinion, from this first generation. And like I said, the best dancers by far, because they were the first to like actually
do some choreo.
Include or incorporate more complex choreography. They are currently the longest running group of all time because they are still together. And they were the first group to survive all going into their military, what is that called? Enlistment. Thank you. They initially
survive. Nobody died in the military.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You mean like
survive
as an artist?
As a group. I'm sorry. That was a poor choice of words. What I meant was they were the first group to not disband before going into the military, and then
to stay
after
together
serving their military, come together with all of the members still. Like the same members.
That's just like fact-wise, like looking at my list, which is small, of the like Generation 1 groups. The average time that a group was together at this time is like 3 years. Like people were not having long careers as groups. Like it's Sekshkis broke up. When they broke up, it was like
It was a huge controversy.
It was a huge controversy, and there's still, if you look at like their Korean Wikipedia page is like mostly entirely different members' accounts of why they broke up. They still to this day don't agree. There's like 9 different stories out there, but like one of them is that most of the members wanted to go out before their popularity sank because they like couldn't handle the thought of being not popular. Like they were like, wouldn't it be worse if we like crashed and burned and weren't popular anymore? So we should just like stop now.
Call it a day now.
And when they like called it off, there was like a famous unfortunate incident where the Sex Geese fans mistook a reporter's car for the CEO's car and they destroyed it. And the CEO of the company had to pay $12,000 to that reporter to like get his car fixed, like, because he felt bad and responsible somehow. But yeah, so Shinhwa is still to this day together.
They've been together for decades, and they're still just as good as they were before. They actually recently played at KCON in 2015, so like they still tour and they still come out. But I also really enjoyed them because they debuted with SM, and then in 2003, SM only offered to renew the contract of some of the members. They like wanted to kick some of the members out for some reason, but the leader of Shinhwa was like, "No, you have to. It's like it's all of us
all or nothing.
None of us." And so that sparked a 12-year legal battle for the name Shinhwa, because Shinhwa left SM and went to a company called Good Entertainment, which was actually founded by people who used to be from SM. Interesting connection. Didn't look too much into that though, so I don't know like the real dirt on Good Entertainment. But we should come back to that when we go over contract disputes. Anyway, so they went to Good Entertainment, where they like continued to be. They used a slightly different name in the meantime because they were like fighting this legal battle to keep their name, which they eventually did win. And while they were fighting that battle, they established Shinhwa Company in 2011, which was like specifically supposed to. It's their official website,
right? And
it was like established in order to keep the fans up to date, and they had to give it a different name at the time, but now it's back to being Shinhwa Company. But it was like reaching out to the fans to say, hey, don't worry, we're still here for you.
Oh,
and they were great.
That's so nice. The only thing I was going to bring up last, because I think this is like the thing that will transition us into our next generation, is the debut of Dear Sweet Boa.
Which I didn't realize came when she was 13 years old. That blew my mind. 13. Because I watched that day, as I was watching the debut stage, I like started reading her Wikipedia and was like, couldn't believe that the girl I was watching was 13, because she had more stage presence and charisma and confidence than like any of the other groups that I'd watched up until that point. That was crazy. 13.
Yeah. So the back half, like the end, if you like we said, this is all wishy-washy, but like the end of this generation is basically when we get Boa and Rain, like at the end, at the early 2000s, because their success then leads us into a new era of K-pop where the goalposts kind of get moved for everybody. Yeah, so
it also kind of ushers in like a brief era of where solo artists are the ones that have like the higher levels of success in terms of pop music than the groups do. There's sort of like a dip in the popularity of groups as the rise of like Boa and Rain sort of starts to take over, and then groups sort of come into play later on, which we'll talk about next week. So yeah, this was just, I hope this was a slightly educational and informative, like little dip into the first generation of K-pop, because it's very important to the thing that we are all here to love. Like, this is the roots of it all. And it is embarrassing, and some of it is poorly produced. People can't sing that well and don't have a lot of camera presence, but like Shinhwa it's charming. But it's charming.
and it's nice. I might share the like research playlist that I made like with the listeners if you guys want to take a little stroll down what this generation was like, and maybe you'll find a song that you like. I found a couple. Again, not good, but catchy.
I found just a few.
Just a few. So yeah, that's that, and we will be right back with a generation specific random game. Okay, we're back. And this week for our random game, we kept our random numbers in between the time of this first generation, just because we
wanted a timeline appropriate group.
We don't do theme episodes like this often and that often. So usually the random game is extremely random. This time, wanted to keep it in the generation.
In the same vein.
So the group that we got, I'm surprised. I had stuff written about them. I'm surprised I didn't bring that up in the last hour and a half or whatever. But this group is called Finkel, or FINK_L, or in Korean, Pinker.
Which stands for fin, like the French word end, killing liberty. So, like, stop killing liberty. Just like we talked about, HOT had that, like, Warriors of Peace thing. That was a big deal for a lot of groups, including Finkel.
Yeah. So this was girl group, 4 members, technically still a group.
Yeah, they
had some long hiatuses. None of them are signed with the company, with DSP that they were at. But all of these, it's definitely a trend right now for first generation groups to be reuniting. So I'm sure everyone's like keeping it on the table in case anyone's interested. But one of the members, Lee Hyori, was a massively successful solo artist once she left this group. All of them are actresses now.
Or one of them's a yogi.
Oh yeah, she lost a bunch of weight doing yoga and became
So now she owns her own yoga studio and is the poster child for yoga in Korea.
Yeah, so
so they're doing fine.
They're doing fine. But yeah, this was a little 4-member girl group. They debuted in 1998. I feel like they, in our research and things that I watched, it seemed like they definitely maybe had some more talented singers than some of the groups that came before.
Lee Hyori is a great singer.
Yeah, so they definitely did 90s R&B, slow jammy kind of.
That's what I wrote them down as, an R&B ballad group,
like a Toni Braxton kind of something.
Yeah.
So they were actively making music until 2002, and then they put out a final album called Forever that was very dramatic and sounds like the Spice Girls' last album, which was also called Goodbye, you know, you got to end it all. And then they were on indefinite hiatus,
which is what they're currently on.
But yeah, the video that we're going to watch, because we had to again abandon our random game rules, because for pre-YouTube groups, you just got to find a popular song because view counts don't matter.
View counts don't count. But their first 2 albums did peak at number 1. Yeah. So we chose a song that was from their first album.
Yes.
And the song is called
To My Boyfriend. So let's give this a shot. I hope that the audio quality isn't trash. Here we go.
Okay, in a classroom.
Yeah, we got and then a box with stars.
Wow, look at the sheets that are on the edge.
Very lame dancing.
I'm sorry, I feel a little speechless. This looks like a music video that you would make at that store Clicks that you mentioned. If Clicks didn't just take sticker photos, if they also did music videos. That's what this looks like.
Yeah, the blue room with the stars hanging looks like where you'd take prom,
yes,
prom
because you can
pictures.
actually see the draping of the sheets. Their outfits are crazy.
But look at how many bangs are in her face.
So many bangs in her face. They're doing that like classic 90s. Whoa! Oh, I didn't even notice the rainbows on those outfits.
Bad quality video, so it's hard to see.
But they're doing like the classic, each girl's wearing the same color and same pattern, but in different combinations. Like one is a plaid skirt, the other one's wearing plaid pants.
Baggy pants, like
baggy pants, of course, and they're all wearing Timbs.
I feel like the rest of their music didn't have this vibe as like I feel like the other video I watched was like that equivalent of that like 2 a.m. we watched last week of them crying in the rain.
Especially because we described this group as singing like R&B ballads, and this is neither of those things. But that was on their Wikipedia page is like
if you start typing their name into YouTube, this is one of the like first. So it must have been something.
Oh, look at that green screen. There was also a point in this music video in which Comic Sans lettering of their name was just scrolling behind them. Look, they are at Clicks.
Yeah, there was photo flashing. This one of these girls is barely trying. Like, you can see, it's look, she just like stopped and moved her bangs. This is just really funny, and that like, the polish of like today's K-pop is 100% missing from this.
This looks like a school project.
Yes. Yeah, it didn't come up earlier in the episode, but groups this time were not training as long as like groups train now.
Obviously.
It's clear, but like
they're not dancing at all?
The companies hadn't perfected their factory model yet. It was coming together.
No, this was like an even less effort Backstreet Boys, which I feel like Backstreet Boys was just like someone drove a truck around Florida neighborhoods and we're like, you get in the back of the truck.
Yeah.
You're going to be a boy band now.
I think I saw in the Wikipedia that one of these girls was discovered at the mall.
Probably. They look like they were all discovered at the mall. Like their company exec walked into a Clicks and was like, you four, I'm going to make your dreams come true. Wow.
You know they had to spend all of their money on that closing like shot of the...
Oh, wow. That was bad.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, that's what this first generation of K-pop is like. It's cheap. I think if you had to boil it all down to one word, I think cheap.
Cheap
is the word that you need. Yeah, but that was fun. I've always wanted to like learn about and talk about this stuff. So I hope you guys found it interesting and that we weren't like too all over the place. Angelica, do you have a recommendation for this week?
Yes, I do. My recommendation is the 2015 KCON LA performance by Shinhwa of one of their very first songs, which is called T.O.P. And I think that stands for, if I remember, Twinkle of Perfection or
that
something
sounds about
like
right.
that. I can't remember if the O is like of or on or whatever. But anyway, T.O.P. So Shannon said that she's gonna link the
playlist of the stuff I made,
the research playlist, which has the original like 1990s or whatever version of that performance. So I do highly encourage you to watch that and then go watch the 2015 one. Not only because is it like just much like Shinhwa, I think got me in the way that like TVXQ got me.
Because
like,
they're grown.
They came back from the army and they aged like fine wine, let me tell you. And the way they're great. They're great. So watch 2015.
As much as I like love me some boys in their 20s, I also love a dude approaching 40 who can still dance.
Yes. And they're still so handsome and they sound so good and like, Shinhwa.
Awesome. So my recommendation this week is like pretty different than any recommendation I've ever made before, but like it seems like the most appropriate time to make this recommendation. I'm not going to recommend a song or a music video. I'm going to recommend a Korean drama.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And I know you're thinking, but Shannon, I already spend so much time with this K-pop nonsense. You want me to watch television as well? Like, yeah, I think in this case, like, this is a good jumping off point if you'd like to get into Korean dramas as well, like, and enjoy that hellish world of like more of needing more content all the time. But this is a drama I've brought up on many episodes and was crucial in helping me with my research for this episode. And that drama is called Reply 1997, also Answer Me 1997, depending on where you find it at. The premise of this drama is basically you have a group of friends in the late 90s. The main character is completely obsessed with HOT, which is like important for the first couple of episodes. It's not what the drama is about. It's just like a facet of her personality. But the drama cuts back and forth between the 90s and the present, where all of these characters have reunited at a restaurant. And in every episode, they give you like tiny little clues as to what the future is now. Like in the first episode, she says like someone in this picture like will be engaged by the end of the night. And then you're like, who is it? So they sort of keep you on your toes with like going back and forth between the past and the present as to like how these people, you know, how their friendships and love and relationships like all came to be. And it's funny and it's charming and it's sweet and it's one of the most satisfying Korean dramas I've ever watched. Dramas tend to be unsatisfying or get very bad in the middle. Like that's a thing that happens. But I've seen this. It's not just my opinion. I've seen it on lists like that. This is one of the most like satisfying dramas there is because when it ends, you like don't feel cheated. Like
no, absolutely. Like it has a good story arc for all of the characters. It has like Shannon said, a satisfying ending. It has like it's a very cohesive storyline. Like sometimes K-dramas have a tendency to sort of like go off the rails or throw like a weird loop into the plot that you're like, we didn't need to take it there. Yeah. And I don't think that this
yeah, and it also has this funny thing of where whenever there's like an awkward moment, it plays a goat sound, which like is funny every single time. Yeah.
Also, did you mention that it stars Yoonji from A-Pink?
I didn't. It stars Yoonji from A-Pink and Hoya from Infinite, and Yoon Ji-won from Sekshkis is playing a guy who like, and people are like, you look like that guy from Sekshkis, and he's like, ew, no, I don't. Yeah. Which is funny because it is him. But yeah. This drama is very widely available. It is on Netflix US if you are, and it is probably on Netflix in other countries. Can't guarantee it, but it's on Netflix US. It is also free on dramafever.com and viki.com, VIKI.com. Like I said, sometimes it's Reply 1997, sometimes it's Answer Me 1997, but that's the same drama. It also has two spin-offs, Reply 1994 and Reply 1988, true dramas that I didn't finish, but they're there. And the characters from each year like make weird little cameos in the others, so they're like kind of connected, but not really. So if you
like skins.
Sort of like in 1994, there's a scene where they get on a bus and the 98 kid or the 97 kids are in the back of the bus and it's 94. So they're like supposed to be in middle school, but they're like not part of it. They're just there they're for like behind. A scene. So they do like little cameo things like they exist in the same world. But anyway, yeah, that's my recommendation. Reply 1997. It's a really good drama. And I think if you've never watched a K-drama before, but you listen to this podcast, I feel like this is probably a good gateway because it's kind of K-pop themed. And yeah, I just really like it. So that's my recommendation.
Good one.
Thanks. All right. Well, that'll do it for today. I did want to ask our dear listeners, we have an episode coming up in a little bit where we want to do kind of like a bit of a mailbag feature. So if you have any questions about anything that we've talked about in the last 18 episodes, or anything we haven't talked about that you're curious about, or any questions for us, whatever, send them to us.
Yes, because it's going to be our 20th episode is why we're going to like make it a little bit different from the normal format. So if there's something that either like maybe in our albums episode, like we didn't talk about the album that
corrections and omissions
or
as well, like
or even just like, hey, during the music video episode, like you guys didn't talk about any of this group's music videos, like watch this one and tell me what you think.
Yeah. We're down for whatever. So yeah, anything at all that you are curious about or want us to know or anything, send us our way. And the way you can do that is on Twitter. We are at AMA Kpop Pod, Instagram, AMA Kpop Pod, on Tumblr, amakpoppod.tumblr.com. And if you want to send us an email, amakpoppod@gmail.com. Thank you to everyone who sent us an email letting us know that My First Kiss is by Kesha and 303. That's the most emails we've ever gotten is when I said, hey, y'all, tell us who sang that song. Like, oh, y'all did. And sorry, we did not know. Like, it made me feel so out of it.
Are a lot of K-pop fans also 303 fans?
Maybe. I don't know. And I stupidly responded to somebody and I was like, oh my God, did 303 do that song with Leighton Meester? I think I liked that. And they were like, no, that was Cobra Starship. And I'm like, God, I don't know anything.
I was too old for that shit already.
Yeah.
I had aged out of that.
Out of it.
Genre.
But yeah, also just throwing it out there. A lot of our listeners have been like reaching out to me on email and Twitter and DMs or whatever. Like, if you are full of Pentagon feelings and you like need to talk about them, I am here for you. Like, some of our listeners can attest. You can send me a really long email about Pentagon and I will send you one back. Like,
oh my God, I read that reply that you sent the other day to Sarah about I read your whole list. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Shannon's overflowing with Pentagon feels. I kind of appreciate that she's not unloading them all at me because I haven't had the time to like fully invest in them yet. So please reach out to her.
That's what I'm asking.
Doesn't dump it on me.
There are goodbye.
I'm not prepared.
There are goodbye stages happening right now, like acoustic versions of Shine, and I'm like hyperventilating at all times.
Shannon just started sweating.
I did. And by the time this episode comes out, like, I think they'll be done. They'll be done with stages and they'll be resting.
I mean,
I need rest, my boys. And
I'm truly taken aback by Shannon's fall here. I can't.
It's intense.
I can't. I've never seen you fall with this level of intensity, and like you're a very intense person.
I know.
And so and I've seen you fall. Like, we've fallen together in so many different ways, and this is like a whole new level. Shannon showed me her phone the other day.
Oh my God!
And she changed it. It was Lay, and now it's Eton. And you guys, I couldn't believe it. This is a big deal.
I don't want to talk about it, but I do want to talk about it. So if you want to talk about it with me, you know where to reach us.
Shannon's crying now.
Oh my God. Okay, we gotta go. I need to splash some water on my face. I'm so upset. We love you guys. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye. Tongya, and your inspiration.